Once we've decided on the order of our paper, the paragraphs within the body of the paper, we want to consider transitions. Transitions are connections or links, if we want to think of them as bridges between ideas. Notice what the italicized words say. Transitional words are used in paragraphs to connect ideas, and those transitions are used to show the relationship or connection between the ideas being developed in paragraphs that appear in sequence. So we can use transitions within paragraphs to connect ideas, and then we use transitions to connect ideas that are being expressed in the paragraphs. So if we think of the paragraph as an island of thought, then our transition provides a bridge between the two ideas. Your organization includes two elements. One, the order, chronological, emphatic, spatial, and the idea of relationship between those parts. What the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill Writing Center points out is that transitions can't take the place of good organization, but they do make it clearer and easier to follow. So our organization is both order and the relationship between the ideas that we have organized. Again, looking at information from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. Transitions are diverse, but they function in the same way. It either summarizes the content of what came before, or it either summarizes explicitly or implicitly, that is, it actually states it or implies a summary of what has come before, and it helps the reader anticipate what will come next. It is a connection between the two. If you've done a good job arranging paragraphs, the transitions highlight the relationship that exists. That's one of the reasons that planning your organization is important, because then there are natural transitions sometimes that you can emphasize rather than having to sort of work a transition in there. But the transitions act as cues to let the reader know what the relationship is between what has been and what is to come. Transitions are important because our goal, whether we're writing academically or professionally, is to convey information clearly and concisely at a minimum, and sometimes to convince our reader of something. So transitions help establish logical connections between ideas. They tell the readers what to do with the information you present them. They function as signs for the reader so that the reader knows how to think about, how to organize, and how to react to both old ideas and new ideas, the relationships between them as they read through what you have written. If we're in the realm of public speaking, we sometimes talk about segues, which are transitions. In public speaking, we may change our tone, we may tell a joke, we may use an image to transition between ideas. This example came from an article about segues and smooth transitions that I thought was particularly interesting. Many times if you listen to music sets, you'll notice that there is a transition between songs. When you make a good mixtape, it works because you have a good transitional element that takes you from one song to the next. So notice here that the discussion is about segues that were used in jazz musician sets or alternative free-form musician sets, DJ sets from the late 60s. It says the segue or transition mix may have been the high watermark of the underground FM alternative free-form DJ. It says a segue would add meaning to the music set, build an idea just as the writer would build a compositional theme. The disc jockey selected each record to create a flow that built on emotions or themes or followed a pattern. And they mentioned that this was something that you learn in English class, helping the reader transition and see connections between and among ideas, whether it is in a public speaking forum or listening to music or in an essay. The purpose is the same. We often see segues in news reports, and these were a couple where the article suggested they were sort of a reach. So in the first one, the story was that David Cone pitched a perfect game, and then the segue was that the weather's still not so perfect, and they transitioned to the weather report. The next one was a story about a man being struck by lightning, and here the segue is all we're getting struck by is foggy weather. Notice that the repetition of words here, getting struck, being perfect, that those were the transitional elements. These are a reach, but still they give you some connection between ideas to help you move from one to the other. So what are these transitional words and phrases? One, there are a variety. They create links between ideas. They help your reader understand the logic of your paper. But one thing is that they have different meanings and connotations. A connotation is what we associate with a word other than its dictionary definition. So it's important that we understand meaning and how transitional elements are used so that we know it's a right match. Notice that here from the University of Wisconsin-Madison Writing Center, that they mention the kinds of things that transitions can communicate. We're going to go to that website so that you can see some specifics, but notice that there are a lot of different logical relationships. You can add things, the movement of time and place, showing how things are alike, comparison, different, showing how they contrast, showing the relationship between cause and effect, that we're clarifying, qualifying, intensifying, think emphatic, that we're conceding a point, that we're showing a purpose or a summary, a conclusion, we're demonstrating. We can always use pronouns to refer back, and we can use illustrations as transitions. This link is available through the essay website. It is on the transitions page. Notice what the University of Wisconsin at Madison shows us, that we can use words that show a relationship of addition, of time, of place, of illustration, to compare, to contrast, to clarify. A causal relationship, the effect of something, purpose, qualifying. Notice that qualification almost never, perhaps, qualifying is important, especially in argument, because seldom is something always true or never true. We can intensify. We can concede a point. We can show a transition to summary. We can show a transition to concluding. We can use demonstrative pronouns, and we can use pronouns to link back to specific words. The website from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill also shows you relationships and transitional expressions. So be aware of the fact that words can help you show connections between ideas. That's one of the things that you are to decide in your plan. How are you going to transition between your paragraphs? What kinds of words or relationships are you showing between the ideas in the body paragraphs? Another way that we talk about transition is to talk about coherence, because that also is the idea of connecting ideas. We can repeat key words. We can align subjects, that is, we use the same kind of subject all the way through a paragraph. We can use words that mean the same thing, synonyms. We can use parallelism, using the same grammatical structure to emphasize relationships. And obviously, we can use conjunctions to show relationships. One other thing we can do is a given new. You start with something the reader already knows or that you have already referenced. Remember, you're summarizing, returning to what has come before, and then we add something new in order to show a relationship. Always, the point is the same: logical connection and helping your reader understand relationships that you want them to see. The websites for the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill and for the University of Wisconsin at Madison to their writing centers are available, as are the notes that I used in the lecture today. So again, your goal is to convey information clearly. Transitions help you establish logical connections between ideas and help the reader know how you want them to think about the information that you have presented to them. Go through, look at the examples, look in your textbook, choose the kinds of transitions or connections that you think are most appropriate between your body paragraphs.